Hey there, nation. Welcome to the show. We help you to play miniatures wargaming on a budget. It is I, Commander CheapSkate, and now it's time for another edition of Tales from the Underhive. This is our series of Necromunda battle reports. This is battle report number 22. This is a gang fight scenario that's actually between two of my buddies, Brother Grimm and Lady Domina. This is also a grudge match, which means that the experience that you get from wounding your opponent, you actually double that experience. You get 10 experience points for every wound that you actually do. And it's kind of funny because my buddies, Brother Grimm and Lady Domina, they're both married in real life, so they're husband and wife. So it's kind of funny because now they're actually kind of fighting it out with their gangs in the battlefield, which is kind of cool as well. So once again, this is a battle report. Brother Grimm's the Pelago-Slam Kings of House Goliath versus his wife, Lady Domino, the Killjoys of House Escher. So let's see what happens when husband and wife go at it on the Underhive and see exactly which gang will reign supreme. So we're going to do the rosters a little bit differently this time. I'm going to play some background music and let it kind of play out. I'll give you guys about a minute and a half, about 45 seconds for each slide. So that way you get a good idea what exactly they're bringing for their rosters. That way you can see that. So if you guys want a longer look at those rosters, you can hit the pause button, take a look at each one of them. Or if you just want to just play the music and just watch it go through real quick, you can do that too. So with that being said, let's go on to the rosters. Alright, so that takes us directly into the deployment phase. As you can see here, we are fighting inside the Underhive once again in the combat zone. We're fighting on a 4x6 table. As you can see, we got a lot of industrial different sites. We got the MTA as well as his walkways cutting the board pretty much in half. We got craters, buildings, towers, all kinds of awesome stuff on this part. In this battle report, my buddy Brother Grimm, he deploys on the near side of the board, while my other buddy Lady Domina, she deploys on the far side of the board. So without any further ado, let's talk about the individual deployments for the gangs and let's get this battle report started. So as you can see in this board, my buddy Brother Grimm pretty much divides up his gang into two teams of 5 apiece. What he decides to do, he creates what's called, he called the assault element, which are his close combat members of his gang on the left-hand side, as well as the suppressive element, which are the members of his gang who are equipped with better weaponry, as well as higher grade weaponry on the right-hand side of the board as well. His idea was to suppress with his right-hand team, try to draw the Killjoys in, and then have his assaulters on the left-hand flank kind of sweep into the left-hand side and take out everybody through assaulting and through close combat on that part. Let's go on and zoom in a little bit closer and talk about the individual fighters and where they're located at. Alright, first of all, we're going to start with the assault team. Starting from the top left and work our way down, we have Flesh Stick followed by Whack-A-Mole, stick up in the center there. And after that, you also have Trip the Shrimp, who's also the third Jew that's located in this gang as well. And then right behind them, you have Craze, not Craze, Rager, that's the guy who's armed with a shotgun. And then right behind next to him is Craze, he's a gang who's armed with a bolt gun, stub gun, as well as frag grenades for that part. And making up the support element here on the left-hand side on the top, you have the Headhunter, that's the gangers armed with a last gun as well as an axe. Right next to him you have Gage as well as Porter. Those are two gangers who are armed with auto guns. Right behind them you have Stuka, that's the guy who's armed with the heavy stubber. And then that guy with the orange cloak, that is Blitzkrieg Bob, he's armed with the grenade launcher, that's the gang's leader. So, as you can see there, that makes the deployment for Brother Grimm's Goliaths on this one. Alright, so let's go and talk about the Killjoys. First of all, if you notice in the back left corner there, we have 3 members of the gang who are not deployed. Those 3 members are basically using the tunnel special rules. Make up that group is Furia, who's the gang's leader, as well as Red Cap Killer the Scummer, as well as, what's her name, Yoko the Pyro, which is the heavy armor the Flamer. And pretty much they're kind of holding back to deploy later on the second turn using the tunnel rules. Up here in the front, however, we do have the 2 Jews. We have Mimi the Punk as well as Trixie, and they're leading them is Silky Star, who's the ganger, sorry, not the ganger, Lucky Lucy is her name. And she's the one who's basically has the dodge as well as the hip shooting skills, so she's going to be deploying her 3 gang members right there. And make up the left-hand side of her forces. Starting from the front, we have Silky Sorrow, followed by Mad Donna, who's the heavy armor with a grenade launcher. After that, we have Raven and Nocturna. That's a ganger who's armed with the last gun as well as a bolt gun as well. Those 2 have the sprint special skills. And then finally, you have One Shot Blonde, who's armed with the hunting rifle, who's got the rapid fire as well as a dodge skill as well. And pretty much it looks like she's kind of going for a pincer attack and then using her deployment team, who's using the tunnels to kind of pop up later on and to add support where they need to. So with deployment out of the way, let's go and talk about the top of turn number 1 for House Goliath, because they won the initiative on this one. Okay, so that takes us directly to the top of turn number 1 for the Pelago-Slam Kings. This photo is taken directly after the move phase. As you can see on the left-hand side here, pretty much his assaulting element starts moving up behind cover, making their ways towards the Killjoys. On the left-hand side there, you got Craze, as well as Rager, as well as Fleshstick, taking up their positions right behind that cargo container, while Whack-A-Mole and Trip the Shrimp kind of go underneath that gantry right in the center in order to lay some suppressive fire down as well. At the very top, you got Bushduka and Blitzkrieg Bob. They both run up that gantry, so that way they can go up to the very top level there of that little triangular shaped structure and pretty much getting into an elevated position to lay down some covering fire. And at the same time, making up the right-hand side, you have both Porter as well as Gage moving up behind that central gantryway as well, getting ready to put down some fire with their auto guns. And then right behind them, you also have the Headhunter. That guy's armed with his last gun, take up a cover position at the base of that triangular-shaped structure, so that way he could also lay down some long-range fire as well. And since everyone in this gang pretty much ran, they have no shooting phase since no one's engaged in close combat and there's no need for recovery. That pretty much ends the top of turn number 1. We go to the bottom of turn number 1 for the Killjoys. Alright, so it's the bottom of turn number 1 after the movement phase for the Killjoys. As you can see, pretty much, Lady Dumb has pretty much spread out her gang over the entire section of the board, running up her gangs and spreading them to very different locations. She has a couple of her Killjoys heading to the base of the MCI Chemical Works there, right there in the center of the board. At the same time, she's got 2 more gang members who are also on top of that 3-tiered structure there on the top, kind of overlooking the walkway towards where the Pelago-Slam Kings are kind of coming from. At the same time, the very far right-hand side, her 2 Jews, as well as Silky Sorrow, has also kind of run forward, sorry, not Silky Sorrow, Lucky Lucy has also ran forward through those little crater fields there, making their way towards the gantryway as well. And I have to apologize ahead of time for the blurriness of this photo, but on that tank there on the left-hand side, you have, what's her name, One Shot Blonde. She's taking up a cover position, so that way she can open up with a hunting rifle. So she's got the rapid fire skill. She can make 2 shots in the same turn, which makes her extremely dangerous. At the same time, you have Silky Sorrow, as well as Mad Donna, making their way to the base of the MCI Chemical Works wall, so that way they can start laying down some fire on the assaulting team that's coming towards them on the left-hand side for the Pelago-Slam Kings. At the same time, using their sprint skill where they can triple their movement, you have both Nocturna as well as Raven quickly climbing up that 3-tiered system all the way to the top floor, so that way they can get good covering fire positions from the top of that floor towards the center of the gantry walkway, so that way they can start taking out shots on the Pelago-Slam Kings. And if you also look at in the background too, a little bit blurry, a little bit in the background there, that's the 3rd team of members of the gang who are planning on using the tunnel special rules deploy starting on turn number 2. So that pretty much makes the close-up on this side. And then finally, you have Lucky Lucy taking point with her last gun, and at the same time, she's escorting Trixie as well as Mimi and Punk through this crater field, heading to the right-hand flank of the Pelago-Slam Kings, and also getting those guys engaged in close combat as well. And since this pretty much runs up the movement phase, we go directly to shooting. And in the shooting phase, Mad Donna cuts loose their grenade launcher, opens up both Trip the Shrimp as well as Whack-A-Mole, managed to put some wounds into those guys at the same time. Unfortunately for her, she only managed to put down, what's his name, Whack-A-Mole, so he's just down for the count right now, so he's laying down. At the same time, she didn't manage to wound Shrimp the Shrimp either, but she managed to basically pin that guy down, because even though he didn't get any wounds, he still got hit by the blast, and so now he's kind of pinned right behind that little central gantry there, right there. And since the only person within 2 inches of him is Whack-A-Mole, who is down for the count, pretty much is going to lose any movement or any action in the next turn, because no one's there to help him out with pinning tests. So that makes the shooting on the left-hand side of the board. And on the right-hand side, Lucky Lucy, using her ship shooting ability, opens up the last gun and manages to hit Porter at the same time. Managed to put that guy down as well. So because of that, he falls to the ground. He's pretty much pinned. However, he's not wounded. It just got hit, so he's just laying there. But since he's right next to Gage, he'll be able to take an initiative test and be able to get out of pinning as well. So with shooting out of the way, no one's engaged in close combat. There's no need for a recovery phase. We go directly to the top of turn number 2 for the Pelago-Slam Kings. Alright, so that takes us directly to the top at turn number 2 for the Pelago-Slam Kings. This photo is taken directly after the movement phase. And as you can see in this photo, pretty much my brother Grimm decided to move a couple of his troops around to kind of spread out his forces, also draw the fire away from some of the Escher as well. As you can see, taking point there, we have Flesh Stick. That is the guy who's basically taking point in front of his entire unit there. He's there to kind of draw out the fire of the Escher, so that way they shoot near the nearest target and take him out and leave the rest of them alone. At the same time, you have Craze. He's mounted at the top of that cargo tent on the left-hand side, and you got Rager bring up the rear of the shotgun as well. At the same time, on the right-hand side, you have the two Jews, Whack-A-Mole and Trip the Shrimp. They're still kind of pinned down, located where they're located at. They're trying to get out of the field of fire and trying to survive, and that's pretty much making a movement on the left-hand side of the board. Over here on the right-hand side, Porter regains his, passes his pinning test, so he pops up right back where he's located as well. However, for the rest of the Pelago-Slam Kings on the right-hand side, including their leader Blitzkrieg Bob and Stuka, who's looking at the top of that walkway, they pretty much stay where they're started off at. They're pretty much staying stationary, taking cover in positions, so that way they can shoot during the shooting phase and then kind of take out their opponents at distance at that point. So that's pretty much where these guys are located as well. And speaking of the shooting phase, Silky Starro actually gets shot twice here on the left-hand side right next to the MCI Chemical Works. She gets tagged by both Rager, who's using a shotgun with a solid slug, as well as Craze using his bolt gun as well. Rager managed to put the first wound on her, made her get a flesh wound. She dropped her weapon skill and ballistic skill by 1. That's why there's that white die with the 1 showing up to represent the fact that she lost that pointage off her ballistics and weapon skill for the flesh wound. But it was actually Craze that kind of dropped her down as well. He put her down for the count of that part as well, so she's laying there just kind of basically bleeding out for right now. So that's the shooting phase on the left-hand side on the MCI Chemical Works. And because Silky Starro went down so close to the heavy Madonna, she had to take a panic test. She failed her panic test, and she flew about 8 inches to the right-hand side, right behind that wall of the MCI Chemical Works. As you can see with that yellow die with a single pip, that just kind of indicates that her nerve is broken. She's kind of running away, trying to take cover because her friend just got shot right next to her. Luckily for my friend Lady Domino, her one-shot blonde, her sniper, who's located at the top of that water tank, she kind of takes in this stride and kind of maintains position and passes her leadership test as well. However, in the center portion of the board, Nocturna as well as Raven were not so lucky. They originally got put down by Blitzkrieg Bob. He opened up the grenade launcher him both with frag grenades. So he basically rolled a 4 on the 4 for Nocturna, I believe a 5 for Raven as well. So both of those ladies were down for the count. However, it was Stuka that was the one who finally put the finishing blow on them. He opened up with his heavy stubber, managed to inflict another wound on those guys, and when they rolled on the injury chart, they both rolled 6s for that. So they're both now out of action. So here's a close-up of both Nocturna as well as Raven. Both those Killjoys are now out of action. They will have to roll on the serious injury table to see exactly what happens to them after the battle is over. And over here on the right-hand side, Gage takes aim with his autogun and managed to inflict a wound onto Lucky Lucy as well. Managed to put her down for 1 wound as well. Luckily for Lady Domino, she rolled on the injury table. A flesh wound was rolled, so because of that, Lucky Lucy will now suffer 1 to her ballistic skill as well as to her weapon skill. So that part's kind of sad for her, but it could have been worse. She could have actually just gone down and out of action. Things would have been infinitely worse for them. So that pretty much rounds up the shooting phase. And since there's no close combat phase, we go to recovery. And in the recovery phase, Trip the Shrimp manages to escape his pin, so he pops up now, so that way he can start taking action again on turn number 3. However, the rest of his gang members who got hit, they're still down for the count right now. So with their turn all over with, we go directly to the bottom of turn number 2 for the Killjoys. So at the beginning of turn number 2, after the move phase, we have 3 members of the Killjoys just pop up using the tunnel special rules. We have Red Cap Killer on the left-hand side, followed by Yoko the Pyro, who's located there in the center, and their leader Fury, who's on the right-hand side as well. And they're perfectly lined up for some really damaging type of attacks right now. You have Yoko the Pyro. She can easily take out those 2 Juves, what's his name, Whack-A-Mole, as well as Trip the Shrimp, who are located in that walkway. Furia can start engaging both Blitzkrieg Bob as well as Stuka on the top of the catwalk. At the same time, got Red Cap Killer, who's having both a gunfighter and rapid fire skills with a plasma pistol and auto pistol. He can start taking out guys like Craze, or he can take out Rager as well. The options are pretty much really open for that part. So these guys deploy where they're located here on the back half of the Goliaths. And at the same time, Silky Sorrow, sorry, not Silky Sorrow, I always get their names mixed up. Lucky Lucy, as well as Trixie, Mimi the Punk. They move up 4 inches as well towards that causeway, so that way they can start putting some long range fire on the right hand side of the Goliath's right hand flank. So that's moving on this side as well. And then finally you have One Shot Blonde. She kind of gets up from her sniper's perch and takes aim with the rifles, so that way she can start shooting into the shooting phase. So the movement phase over, we go directly to shooting. During the shooting phase, Lady Domino just absolutely decimated the Pelago-Slam King's left-hand flank on this side. So let's go and talk about exactly what happened first. First of all, Yoko the Pyro cut loose with her flamer, attacked both Trip the Shrimp as well as Whack-A-Mole, managed to put those guys on wounds of that, drop them down as well. Unfortunately for Lady Domino, she only rolled down for the result of their injuries, so they're just kind of laying there, and all they can really do is crawl away for 2 inches at the same time. While that happened, Furia opened up with her bolt gun onto Stuka, was unable to get her shots off, however, so because of that, not much happened there. But the real killers in this one were both One Shot Blonde as well as Red Cap Killer. Red Cap Killer opened up all 4 of his shots into Craze, managed to put that guy down with his plasma pistol, rolled up on the injury, and that guy's not out of action, so that's why there's the red 6 up there. At the same time, One Shot Blonde, she opens up with 2 shots, and because she was stationary when she opened up with her shots, if every single time she rolls a D6, rolls a 6 onto wound, she basically caused D3 wounds as well. So her first shot lands onto Flesh Stick, puts him down as well, so he's down for the count. At the same time, she also shot at Rager as well, who's the guy's armed with a shotgun, managed to put him down and also rolled a 6 to wound, put 3 wounds on that guy, so that guy is now carrying 3 wounds, and he's laying down on the ground as well. Luckily for Brother Grimm, though, when it came to the injury table, he rolled down for both those guys, so everyone is pretty much down. Half the gangs on this side are pretty much down for the count, and things are not looking good for the Pelago-Slam Kings. And here's a close-up of Craze, who's the bolt gun carrying Pelago-Slam King, who got out of action, so he will have to roll the serious injuries table after the battle is over. And to make matters worse for the Pelago-Slam Kings, Lucky Lucy as well as Trixie Mimi the Punk open up on both Porter and Gage with their last weapons, managed to inflict wounds on both of those guys, and managed to roll down on the injury table. So those guys are now facing down, and they're out for the count. Unfortunately for my buddy Brother Grimm, his character, the Headhunter, had to take a panic test to see if he'd flee. And as you can see in this picture, the Headhunter fails the leadership test, and he just starts running for the hills. He runs 8 inches back towards the back end of the table and making his way towards the edge to escape the hill that's basically coming his way. Because no one's engaged in close combat for the Killjoys, and no one's really down for the down for the count for the recovery phase, we go directly to the top, turn number 3 for the Pelago-Slam Kings. Alright, that takes us directly to the top of turn number 3 for the Pelago-Slam Kings. This photo is taken directly after the move phase. As you can see in this photo, not much move is really taking place. All that really happens is that Stuka as well as Blitzkrieg Bob turn to face the 3 newly arriving Killjoys are looking at their side of the board as well. Everybody else, because everyone's just pretty much down, just crawls 2 inches into various areas to kind of escape. You have Rager trying to get towards the causeway to get some shelter there. You got Trip the Shrimp as well as Whack-A-Mole also trying to crawl towards that causeway there to kiss some safety from the Killjoys, because if the Killjoys charge into the next turn and engage in close combat, those guys automatically go down. At the same time, you also have Flesh Stick, who's willing to take one for the team. He crawls 2 inches towards the Killjoys, so that way all their shots on the left-hand flank go directly against him. So that's when we get on the left-hand flank of the board. And on the right-hand side of the board here, both Porter as well as Gage stay directly where they're at, trying to retain cover between that right-hand side of the causeway, so that when they get shot by Lucky Lucy as well as maybe the Punk and Trixie. At the same time, you notice the axe-wielding ganger, the Headhunter, he's off the board. He's actually on the bottom of the frame there. He's actually out of frame. He's still running away, so he's still hiding out for that part. So with movement done, we go directly to the shooting phase. Not much really happened during the shooting phase. Originally, Stuka tried to open up with his heavy stubber, unfortunately missed all of his shots on that part. He rolled like Snake Eyes, so because of that, he only got 2 shots. They didn't really go anywhere. However, it was Blitzkrieg Bob. He opened up with his frag grenade launcher, frag grenades from his grenade launcher, managed to hit both Furia as well as Yoko the Pyro. Unfortunately for Blitzkrieg Bob, he didn't manage to wound any of them. They just managed to put them down, just kind of pinned him at this point. It did hit them, but it didn't cause any wounds. So those 2 basically able to pop up during the next turn when they to escape pinning for that part. So that pretty much makes the shooting phase on this part. It says no one's engaged in close combat. We go directly to the recovery phase. And in the recurring phase, Flesh Stick manages to pull out with a flesh wound, so now he's back up on his feet. He's standing there next to that little walkway there in the very top left portion of the screen. At the same time, Rager, he's still down, so all he does is really crawl 2 inches forward. Whack-A-Mole is still down. However, Trip the Shrimp manages to pop up with a flesh wound as well, and he takes his position right there under the gantry. At the same time, Porter and Gage also recover with flesh wounds. They have -1 to the ballistic skill and weapon skill as well, just like Trip the Shrimp. And then finally, the Headhunter regains his nerve and basically he turns around so that way he can charge right in directly for his next turn. So with recovery phase over, we go directly to the bottom of turn number 3 for the Killjoys. So this is the bottom of turn number 3 after movement phase for the Killjoys. As you can see in this photo, Mad Donna recovers her nerve, jumps to the top of the wall there, joining it with one-shot blonde, so that way they both can start shooting at targets located in the left-hand flank of the Pelago-Slam Kings. At the same time, Yoko the Pyro charges directly into Rager, who's located right there in the center of the table, with his shotgun. So she's charging to that guy to take him on in close combat. At the same time, Fury is charging into Whack-A-Mole as well to engage him in close combat as well. And since both those guys are already down in the close combat, all they do have to do is just hit them, and they're pretty much down for the count on that part as well. So they'll go out of action and have to roll on the serious injury table chart as well. And at the far right hand side here, Lucky Lucy as well as Trixie and Mimi the Punk, they move up another 4 inches as well, so that way they can start opening fire onto Porter and Gage, who are located here on the right hand side. So with movement phase over, we go directly to the shooting phase. And with that being said, one-shot blonde takes aim with the hunting rifle, manages to put down flesh stick again and drop that guy. When they roll up in the injury table, he rolled down on that part, so he's just kind of laying there for right now, just bleeding all over the place. Alright, over here on the right hand side, both Trixie as well as Mimi the Punk managed to put 2 more wounds onto Porter as well as Gage. Drop those 2 guys down as well. When they roll the injury table, those guys rolled for down, so they're just lying there bleeding. At the same time, Furia, she cuts loose with the bolt gun and managed to hit Blitzkrieg Bob as well as wound him. But not only did she wound him as well, she also made that guy drop on the other side as well. He falls to the ground, takes an injury for his troubles, and also takes another wound on that part as well. And as you can see in the red die there on the 6, he rolls for out of action. At the same time, to make things worse, Trip the Shrimp witnesses this horrible event, fails his nerve test, and he runs 4 inches away from the causeway towards the end of the table because he doesn't want to die either. So that pretty much takes the shooting phase on this part. So here's a close-up of Blitzkrieg Bob, who's now out of action. He will need to roll on the serious injury tables after the game is over to see exactly what happens to him. In the combat phase, Fury has no problem whatsoever taking out the downed member of the gang whose name is, what's his name? Whack-A-Mole, what's his name? He's down for the count, so when she charges up to him, all she has to do is basically stick him and kill him really quickly. She then does a quick 2-inch follow-up and hits towards Porter as well as Gage, and she plans on charging those guys during her next movement phase. And at the same time, Yoko the Pyro has no problem whatsoever taking down Rager, and then she also follows with another 2 inches, starting to hit towards Flesh Stick as well. Here's a close-up of both Whack-A-Mole as well as Rager. They're both down for the count. They're both out of action as well. So when they go down to end of this battle, they will need to roll on the serious injury table to see exactly what happens to them in the post-game. And with that being said, we go directly to the recovery phase. And in the recovery phase, Silky Star manages to get back up her feet again. She has another flesh wound, so now her weapon skill and ballistic skill are down to 1. So that being said, we go directly to the top of turn number 4 for the Pelago-Slam Kings. And the very first thing the Goliaths do is they bottle out. They have to take a bottle test because so many of their guys are now out of action. Since the leader is out of action as well, the highest leadership score is 7, so they roll their 10s, 2 6-sided dice. They roll a 10, so the gang basically just kind of gives up and then flees for the hill. So now because of that, members of the gang who are now down, which are Porter as well as Gage, they'll need to roll to see if they have sustained any serious injury tables as charge as well. So because of that, we go directly to the post game because this battle report is now officially over. Alright, so let's go and talk about the post-game for the Killjoys. First of all, I'll start with injuries real fast. Raven made a full recovery. However, Nocturne did take a hit wound, so because of that, she will now have to roll to see if she's subject to Frenzy or Stupidity every single time she fights as well. For the experience, we actually had several, advancements for these games because so many of these wounds were twice as many experience points because it was a grudge match. Fury got to earn the rapid fire skill as well as +1 to her toughness and +1 to her weapon skill. Mad Donna got +1 to her weapon skill. Yoko the Pyro earned 4 advancements. She got +1 to her ballistic skill, +1 toughness, the jump back skill as well as rapid fire skill, which is really going to be deadly since she's using a flamer for that one. One Shot Blonde got +2 to her ballistic skill and +1 to her leadership. Lucky Lucy learned the leap skill. Silky Star learned the jump back skill. At the same time, Trixie got promoted to a ganger. She got +1 attack, +1 to her ballistic skill, and +1 to her initiative. And Mimi the Punk, she is now a ganger as well, got +1 to her strength. For their territories in the merchant, they were in a new territory. They learned Friendly Dock. They stole that away from the Pelago-Slam Kings because they beat them so bad in terms of close combat. They worked the territories, earned 65 credits. They used that money to recruit a brand new Jew from the settlement named Harlow. They armed her with a last pistol, and they also purchased last guns for both Trixie as well as Mimi the Punk, and they took the remainder and rehired Red Cap Killer. The new gang ranks at 2,053 points, and the new record is at 3 wins and 0 losses. Alright, for the Pelago-Slam Kings, for injuries, Blitzkrieg Bob made a full recovery. Gage got an arm wound with -1 to his strength. Rager got a head wound, Craze got old battle wound, and Whack-A-Mole earned impressive scars, giving +1 to his leadership. For the experiences, Blitzkrieg Bob got +1 to his ballistic skill, Stuka got +1 to his toughness, the Headhunter got +1 to his initiative. At the same time, Rager got +1 to his toughness and +1 to his ballistic skill, Porter got +1 to his toughness, Fleshstick got +1 to his strength, and Trip the Shrimp learned the Iron Jaw skill. The gang worked the territories, earned 55 credits, and they used that money to hire a new ganger named with Arm of the Bolt Gun. His name is Crank. The new gang rating is at now 1,901 points. They have a record of 1 win as well as 3 losses, and that pretty much sums it up for the Goliath in this one. So that's the end of the Pelago-Slam Kings. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, that's going to round up for this battle report. As always, tune in every Thursday between this show as well as Warhammer the Golden Age. We'll alternate these every Thursday. So yeah, stay tuned for the next time, ladies and gentlemen. You guys stay classy. We will catch you guys on the flip side.